Okay.
Yeah, now I see.
All right, you should be a panelist now.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
And I just made you presenter.
Cool, thank you.
All right, sorry about that, everyone. Go ahead.
You're able to see me, see my screen? Yeah, perfect. So sorry for the inconvenience, guys. Once again, good day, everyone. This is Vinay Chittimilla, and I'm the product owner for process automation. The agenda for this meeting is pretty simple. I would initially give a two-liner introduction of what the feature is all about, and later on my engineering team would proceed with the demo. So it's a very simple agenda, and I'm sure we'll not overload you with a lot of stuff. This is the standard CA disclaimer, and this is something we are supposed to show in all our external presentations. Purpose of this slide is to let you know that this presentation is for your information only, and things might even change without notice. So that's the purpose of this particular slide. So let's come to the new features which we deliver as part of the current release. So for now, we're just thinking to have this as a service pack over 4.3 and call this release as 4.3 SP01. But nothing has been finalized yet. So probably I'll use in most of the presentation, I'll use it as current release rather than terming it as 4.3 SP01. The first one is on PAM deployment in DR mode. Essentially, right, in the recent times, what we have observed from many of our customers is using PAM in DR mode, that is essentially having active and passive nodes which are configured across different geographies. So the reason of having this is, whenever there is like any disaster which happens in one geography, the other things should take over, the passive should take over. So that's the main reason of having this disaster recovery. So with this particular feature, right, we have taken a step further to support DR mode out of the box. Right now, many customers are using DR mode, but each of them are on different, deployment. Like they're using it different way than any other customer. So what we're trying to do with this is we're giving this out of box, and we're testing all of the scenarios in-house. And also with this, right, the switching between active and passive is also seamless. So that's what we're trying to do as part of this particular feature. The next in line is the silent installation support for cluster, domain orchestrator, and normal orchestrator. So as of today, right, you all might be well aware that we have silent installation support for domain orchestrator and agent, both. But nowadays, at least from PAM 4 to SP2, right, many of our customers, they have started using PAM in a cluster deployment, having 3-node cluster or 4-node cluster. So they started using cluster deployments. So with this, right, we wanted to extend our existing silent installation support to both clustered domain orchestrator nodes and also standalone normal orchestrator. What I mean is, you could basically use silent installation or response.wire file to install your node 1 of the cluster, node 2 of the cluster, node 8 up until now node 4, because because we support node 4, 4-node cluster. And essentially, right, this is very useful in non-Windows environment, and especially, right, where we have security issues in, in installing applications like Xmines or any, showing up in non-Windows environments, right? So, and at those places, silent installation is the only way out. So I think this is a feature which would be very useful, in most of the organizations where non-Windows is a major, environment for them to work on. The next in line is in PAM with Kerberos authentication protocol. So Kerberos is an authentication protocol which has become very popular in the recent times, and in fact, many of our customers are adopting to this in their entire organization. So we took this up as part of this release, and now we have PAM which supports 3 different authentication modes: basic, NTLM, and Kerberos. So we made PAM more secure with different types of, with the latest authentication protocols. Next is agent gateway support in PAM. So just visualize for this feature, right? Just think that you have an environment where you have deployed large number of agents, and these agents, right, they are basically behind some firewalls. So one of the challenging tasks for any administrator is to basically punch holes in the firewalls to open TCP or any other non-standard ports. It can be any other non-standard ports in order to have the agent and orchestrator communication. No, this is, first of all, this is not a best practice, and this is a tedious job, right? So this particular challenge is basically fixed right now by opening a TCP port only on one agent, which basically we term it as gateway agent. And all the other agents, right, they basically communicate with the gateway agents rather than communicating directly with the orchestrator. So essentially, you can think that the gateway agent is a mediator between the orchestrator and agent communication. So these are some of the key features we have delivered, and apart from those, we have also rebuilt some of our existing connectors to support the latest version of those of the third-party software, and also with the latest version of process automation. So we've done this with 3 connectors which are widely used in the customer environments: vSphere, BMC Remedy, Spectrum. So we certified the latest versions of this particular software with process automation latest version. And apart from this, we have done some technical currency stories, including platform certifications, like we have certified MS SQL 2014, Oracle 12c, Oracle Enterprise Linux, Microsoft Edge browser. So these are some of the certifications also we have done as part of this particular release. So because of time constraints, we have this for 1 hour, right? So what we do is we demo the top 3 features, and the others is something we could do based on certain requests, but the top 3 is what we'll be demoing as of today. That's it from my side, and it's time for my engineering team to take over and walk us through the demos. All yes, Kirti. Any questions by the time the switching happens? Okay, thanks. In case no questions, Kirti, can you please take over and start the disaster recovery demo? Chris, do you need to make Kirti as a panelist?
Who needs to be a panelist?
So, Kirti wanted to demo, right? So, do you need to make him as a panelist?
Okay, what's the name again? I'm not seeing it.
Kirti, K-A-R-T-I.
K-A-R-T-I.
Hey, hi everyone. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Kirti, we are able to hear you.
Yeah, hi.
I'm just working on making you a panelist right now.
Sure. So in the meantime, guys, let me quickly introduce myself. I'm Kirti Chedda, and I've been working with CA Technologies for more than 7 years now. And overall, I have 12 plus years of experience in software engineering. And since last 2 years, I have taken up the role of PAM architect. And today I'm going to talk about and give demo on the disaster recovery feature that we have implemented as part of our current release. So,
okay, just add a few presenter privileges, so you should be able to share your desktop.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm sharing, so just give me a second.
Sure.
Hey, can you all see my desktop?
It's loading right now.
Okay.
Oh, we did see it, just closed out. Okay, we can see your desktop.
Yeah, all right, great. So guys, let me start off with the problem statement first. So it's pretty simple and straightforward. So consider a scenario wherein you have, your PAM cluster, and in one of your data centers. I mean, PAM. Basically, let's say you install PAM in a cluster mode, and wherein you have node 1 and node 2 in your data center, and somehow your data center 1 goes down. So if you ask us that today, I mean, is there any solution or is there any workaround? So yes, I mean, there is a workaround, but we don't recommend that workaround because it is really hard to replicate that environment, and it will not even work seamlessly. So this was the problem statement, I mean, that we have got, and we have implemented the disaster recovery feature wherein we can resolve this problem. That is, we can easily replicate the environment and we can make it work seamlessly. By saying so that, I mean, we can easily replicate this environment. So, and what do I mean is that, I mean, today in the workaround that we have, there are lots and lots of manual steps that are involved, right? But with our implementation, we have removed all those manual steps, and it's all automatic. That is, if your data center 1 goes down, so you have your data center 2, which will be up and running, and it will cater all the requests that will come to the PAM engine. So, I mean, there are a few recommendations for the DR deployment, that is disaster recovery deployment. But, I mean, before I jump into the recommendation, let me show you the DR architecture that we have, that is currently in place. Yeah. So if you look at it on the left-hand side, we have a main site, right, and which comprises of node 1 and node 2, and these 2 nodes are the active nodes. That is, when you install PAM, you install these 2 nodes as the active nodes, and I'll show you in the demo. I mean, in the installer, I mean, we have provided there is a provision wherein you can select your node as an active node or passive node. So, I mean, let's say you want to install PAM in a cluster environment, so you install your first 2 nodes as an active node. And on the right-hand side, if you look at it, I mean, we have node 3 and node 4, and these 2 nodes are the passive nodes. So passive node means that even though we are setting up a 4-node cluster, but node 3 and node 4, they are passive, which means they do not cater any request that comes to the PAM engine. And when your main site, that is your data center 1, it goes down, then your node 3 and node 4, they'll become active and they'll start catering PAM requests. So in this architecture, I mean, here we have a web server in place, and web server here, it's nothing but it's the load balancer, and we have database servers in place and the EM servers. So our recommendation is that the load balancer, it should be configured outside the data center, right? And your EM can be configured in one of the 2 modes. That is, if it is a standalone, it should be outside data center. And if you install EM in an HA mode, then it can be within their respective data centers. And the same is the case with the database. If it is standalone, I mean, we prefer it to be outside the data center. And if it is clustered or mirrored, then you can have it within your respective data centers. So in this architecture, I mean, we have the load balancer, which is outside your data center. We have database servers, which are mirrored, and the EM server, which is outside your data center. Node 1 and node 2 on the left-hand side of the screen, they are active nodes. That is, this is the main site. And on the right-hand side, you see the DR site. That is node 3 and node 4, they have been installed as passive nodes. And let's say when the disaster happens, that is your node 1 and node 2, both the nodes, they go down, then node 3 and node 4, they will become active nodes automatically. That is, no manual steps are involved, and node 3 and node 4, they'll start catering PAM requests. So basically what we have done is we have achieved the disaster recovery, that any new request that you will that you want to execute, it will be catered by the your DR site. And if there is any requests that, I mean, any processes that were being executed by the main site at the time when it went down, so those processes will be recovered by the DR site. So basically nothing will be lost, and we'll have we would be in a position wherein we have replicated this environment and things will work seamlessly. So let me jump into the demo. So in the demo, I have installed, let me show you. Yeah, so I have installed PAM in a cluster node, wherein, if you look at this host, Chucky 06-7010, this is the main node. That is, this is the data center 1, which comprises of one node. And the other node, Chucky 06, PHAKI 06, this is a passive node. And this is, right now, if you look at it, the state. So our main site is up and running, and the disaster site, the passive site, it is not up and running, right? So so I have logged into the PAM, and if I go and execute a process, let me execute a process. This is a simple process which tells us, which prints the host name of the orchestrator of the machine where this particular operator is executed. So since the main site is up and running, so here if you look at it, it has printed PHAKI 067010, which is the main site, which is up and running at this point of time. And if I execute another request, again it will go to the same node, that is node 1, and it has executed on the node 1 only. So right now this means node 1 is up and running, it is active, whereas node 2, that is Chucky 03, it is in the passive mode. So let me execute one more process which will show you the recovery once disaster happens. So let me execute this process first, and then I'll explain this. So I have executed this process. So right now, if you look at it, it is in the running mode, and I am stopping the active node. That is, this is, I'm replicating the disaster environment. That is, disaster has happened now. Your main site goes down. So this is my other site, the passive site. Here if you look at it, this is the other node, which right now it is booting up. So it will take 2 to 3 minutes to boot up, and no manual step is required. It will boot up automatically. In the meantime, let me explain you this particular process. So if you look at the process, the first operator, it has printed the host name of the data center 1 machine, that is node 1. And now since your main site goes down, and this process is still, it is still executing. So once your passive node, that is once your, a passive site will be up and running, so the remaining operators will be executed on the node 2. And any new request that you will post, it will go to the passive node only. That is your disaster site. So, it will take 2 to 3 minutes for it to be up and running. In the meantime, if there are any questions, then you can just let me know, so I can answer those questions.
Perhaps you need to unmute your lines to ask any questions.
And yeah, I'm really sorry. Before that, let me, in the meantime, I'll show you the installer screens. So this is the screen, when you install PAM for the very first time, so here if you look at this screen, configuration screen, this is the new field that we have introduced, that is whether you want to enable, configure the disaster recovery or not, right? When you select this, then we are providing user an option to select whether this particular node that you are going to install, will it be a passive node or an active node. So from this drop down, user can select whether the user wants it to be active or passive. But what we recommend is that the very first node that you install, it should be active only. If you say passive, then when you click on the next button, it will display an error message, that is, you cannot install the first node as a passive node, because this is not as per the process that we are recommending. So very first node, it should be active, and the passive node, once you install your active nodes and once it is up and running, then you can install another node in a cluster, and again you will find the similar screen, and in the from the same screen you select passive if it is a passive node. So this is the installer change that we have done as part of this release. The remaining UI is the same. So this was the installer changes that we had done. Now, I mean, if you look at it, it is up and running. See, now your node 2, that is Chucky06, it says it is up and running. So let me log in. See, I'm able to log into PAM, even though your main site goes down. So all these processes now, they are being catered by your passive site. And now if I go and run, any new process, so that process will be handled by, that request will be handled by a passive site. See here, if you look at it, the output is, it has printed the host name of the passive node machine, that is Chucky06. And earlier it was Chucky06-7010, the other one. And this recovery, I mean, it will take some time, but once, I mean, it will take 3 to 4 minutes for the processes to be recovered. And once they are recovered, it will be executed on the passive node. Yeah. So if I compare, the run script with the previous one that we have executed, this is the latest one. See, earlier it was executed on the main site, and now it has executed on the your passive site, the DR site. So this is what I have to, a demo. I mean, now I'm open to all the questions if you have.
So Kirti, there were a couple of questions in the Q&A box. Can you please answer those while we wait for others to speak out?
Yeah, sure, I'll do that.
Thank you.
Kirti, you're able to see the questions, or do you want me to read it out?
Yeah, I can see it now, so I'll provide answer to those questions.
Sure.
I mean, somehow I'm not able to send it. I mean, send my reply.
Yeah, that is the same
Can
problem.
you talk it out? Can you speak out
exactly.
the question?
Yeah, sure. So the first question is that what are the certified load balancers? So the certified load balancers are Apache load balancer, Nginx, and F5. For these 3 load balancers, we have certified this particular story. And the next question is, would this work for F5? Yes. And the last one is, you recommended architect would work with F5 too instead of just with the software load balancer. Now, with F5 as well as other software load balancers, we have verified this. So I hope I have answered, all the queries. So do we have?
Yeah. So Kirti, even I got a chance on how do I reply the question. So even I'm doing it in the chat window too. So we need to select the name and then do the answering. So I just did the answers too.
Okay.
So if you have any questions, I believe you need to unmute your lines. Chris, are there any recommendations for the participants?
So if they are dialed into the WebEx, they can press #6 to unmute, but if you're listening to audio on your computer, if you have any questions, feel free to use the Q&A box, and we can either read those questions out loud or we'll answer them directly in chat.
Thanks, Chris. Preeti, if there are no more questions, you can proceed to the next one.
Sure. So Vinny, can you hand it over to, I think, Chaitanya?
Is Chaitanya logged on? Chris, you need to make Chaitanya as a panelist.
Okay, one sec. I'll go ahead and make him a panelist. And who is it needs to be a panelist again?
Chaitanya.
Chaitanya. In 2 logins. Should be a panelist now.
Okay, Chaitanya, you on the call? Chaitanya? Just waiting on her. I'm pinging her on. Yep. Okay, great.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you, Chaitanya.
Yeah, what's your
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. I'm sharing my desktop.
You should have presenter privileges right now.
Yeah, thank you. Good day, everyone. Myself, Chaitanya, working for Process Automation Engineering team. Today, I'm here to demo one of the new features introduced in the current release of PAM, which is unattended installation of non-domain orchestrator and also domain cluster nodes. So the problem statement here is in earlier releases of PAM, we were not supporting the unattended installation of non-domain orchestrator or the cluster nodes. The problem behind the scene is if in any of the customer environments, if GUI installation is not supported, then there is no other alternative or workaround to install the PAM in unattended installation. So that's why we have considered this problem in the current release, and we have extended our support to install the non-domain orchestrator and cluster nodes, domain cluster nodes in unattended mode. So here now I'll show you the demo, but before that we have a few input files to install either non-domain orchestrator or the domain cluster nodes. Those are called as response files. So for both we have different response files to be inputted to the silent installation batch file or the SH file depending upon the operating system. So I'll show you the demo here. And the benefits out of which we are giving in PAM is if GUI is not supported mainly in non-Windows platforms, we can use unattended installation completely for PAM, for non-domain orchestrators as well as domain cluster nodes. And also to leverage the large-scale rollouts, we can use this silent installation feature. So I'll show you the demo now. Please give me 1 minute. For installation of domain cluster nodes or non-domain orchestrator, we need to have DBD1, that is third-party installer, to be copied to the corresponding host machine. So here we will use silent installer Windows or a Unix SH file to install the non-domain orchestrator in unattended mode or the domain cluster nodes. So the commands that we need to use are for installation of additional domain cluster nodes, we need to input a parameter called add domain node. This is the parameter. I'll highlight this one. And we need to provide the certificate password. So the additional cluster domain nodes will be installed. Similarly, if we want to install the additional non-domain orchestrator, we need to use this parameter, install orchestrator parameter. and we need to provide the certificate password. Along with that, we need to provide the library DB password and also runtime DB password to install the non-domain orchestrator. And also we have two additional response files introduced as part of implementation of this feature. The first one is response_add_node_domain.var file. This is used as an input to install the additional cluster domain cluster nodes. So here we need to input all the valid values and then we need to start the installation. This is a prerequisite for that. And for installation of non-domain orchestrator, we have one response file called primary server underscore response.var file. Here also we need to provide all the valid inputs, then only we can start with the unattended installation of non-domain orchestrator. So how it goes is, I'll show you the console help also. If we start from here, if user clicks on enter, after giving this silent install.patch, it will provide you the console help. Here, the first two parameters are optional. If user wants to install additional cluster nodes or non-domain orchestrator, user needs to provide either of these parameters. Else, it will be installed as a domain orchestrator here by making use of the other parameters like vset password and all. So after this, if user inputs wanted to install additional cluster node, then he need to provide this add domain node as parameter. So if I click enter here, it will provide you what else required to install the additional cluster node for domain. So it is asking for set password. Then if that password is provided, installation will go on. So this is how it works for additional domain cluster node, and I'm stopping it here. It will continue and additional domain cluster node will be installed as per the inputs provided in the response file. I'm stopping it here. Give me 1 minute. It is taking time to stop. Similarly, we can install non-domain orchestrator also. So please give me 1 minute. This installation is in progress. Actually, because of network latency, I could not stop the installation. Similarly, we need to invoke the other parameter, that is install orchestrator for installation of non-domain orchestrator, and we need to provide the certificate password and library DB as well as runtime passwords to install the non-domain orchestrator. So installation will go on and it will be installed according to the inputs provided. If I'm done with the demo, if you have any questions, maybe I can answer.
Okay, in case there are no questions, can we go to the next demo? Sharma, all yours.
Yeah, sure. Thank you all.
Hello.
Sharma, you're audible.
Yeah, hi. Good day, everyone. This is Ram Sharma. Can you add me to panelist, please? Ram Sharma.
Who needs to be made a panelist?
Ram Sharma.
1 second. Okay, you should be a presenter.
Yeah, I'm sharing my screen. So, is my screen visible? I hope.
Can see your screen.
Yeah, thank you. So, once again, good day, everyone. This is Ram Sharma from PAM engineering team. Today, I'll be discussing about this providing Kerberos protocol support for authentication in PAM. As we all know, Kerberos is a more secure protocol which works on the basis of tickets rather than providing a username and password from the auto picked up from the Windows login. It's basically built on top of NTLM protocol, providing more security in a non-secure network. So in this till now we are providing support for basic and NTLM authentication modes, and from this current release we have extended that support to Kerberos authentication too. I mean, so this is only to provide more security for PAM authentication also, and also stay updated with the recent protocols in authentication. So to enable this support, user need to select Kerberos as authentication mode in the EM screen during the installation. And once that is enabled, I mean, it supports NTLM also by default, because in sometimes sometimes clients may not, the client from where we are accessing the application may not be capable of sending the Kerberos-based challenge. So in that case, it falls back to NTLM authentication. So PAM authentication works both with NTLM and Kerberos if Kerberos mode is selected. So I'll quickly go to the demo. So first, coming to the demo environment, I have a set of machines in a network which all communicate through Kerberos protocols. And first is my AD machine. So I have created two users, Ram Sharma and test user, which I have highlighted. So, and my EM is pointed to this AD. This user my EM user store is pointed to this AD, and I have assigned Ram Sharma user as PAM admin to the PAM admins group of PAM, and test user to PAM users group. After installation of PAM to the EM registered application, I have assigned Ram Sharma to the group of PAM admins and test user to the group of PAM users. So like this way, I'll be demonstrating both authentication and authorization in this demo. And just to make sure this Kerberos is only with regard to the authentication, but with respect to authorization, everything works as before and nothing has been changed. So just to demonstrate the same, I've included these two users. Now coming back to my setup again. So I've installed PAM in this machine. So just start up with the installation screen. As I mentioned, in the EM screen, we have a new field, authentication mode. Previously, it used to be a checkbox because there are only two fields, either NTLM or basic. Like basic is like it is a form-based authentication. We'll get a login page wherein the user keys in the username and the password. And NTLM is like the login is automatically picked up from the Windows credentials, Windows login credentials on the machine, and the login page is not presented to the user, and the application auto logs in. That is NTLM. So Kerberos also works in the same way, but with more security, wherein the credentials are not supplied over wire, but only some ticketing-based system works in the communications rather than the user credentials, hence it is more secure. So during the installation, the user needs to select Kerberos authentication in the authentication mode and proceed with the installation just as usual. So after the installation, in the OSS config properties, we can see like two properties, NTLM.enabled and Kerberos.enabled, both marked to true. So as I mentioned, once the user selects Kerberos authentication, he will be having both NTLM and Kerberos enabled. So if NTLM is selected, this NTLM field will be true and Kerberos will be false. In case of basic selection, both will be false. So these are the three allowed combinations, even if the user wants to change after installation. So now coming to the working of the application. So this machine, I am logged in with the credentials of Ram Sharma. So if I try to log into this application from this machine, so as you can see, I did not get any login page. It's picked up from the logged in user, and it immediately took me to the page along with the authorization of the PAM admins group. So because this Ram Sharma user belongs to PAM admin group, he is able to see all the tabs. The generally configuration and all those things are seen only by the admin people. So since Ram Sharma belongs to the PAM admins group, he is able to see all the tabs, and also he is not presented with any login. It's automatically logged in. So now we'll go to some other machine. There's another machine. This machine is logged in with test user credentials. As you can see, test user credentials. So now if I try to log in to the same application from this machine, again it directly takes me to the login into the application without any login page, and it shows me only the eligible things which are authorized for this user. So as you can see, designer and the configuration are not shown since this current user belongs to the PAM user group. Just to reiterate, we can see like all these machines are in the Kerberos supported network, and they all send ticket, as I mentioned, is the more secure ticket service operations. So for any access between these machines, they request Kerberos service tickets, and the PAM, this AD machine, authorizes that, and all the authentication happens. So everything is based on this Kerberos service ticket operations, and which is more secure, and PAM application also is supporting that authentication. And authorization works same as before, based on the EM policies which the user provides. So this is from my side. If you have any questions, I can take up. If not, I'm done, and Vinay, I think you can take over.
Sure. So any more questions from the users, community users, and the participants here? So it can be on the feature set, it can be on on the strategy, on the roadmap. So any questions, anything. So we have even product manager on call, so we could answer whatever is right now available. If not, we'll get back to you.
Yeah, this is Sridhar Baratam again. I'm the product manager. I just want to give you a heads up on how exactly we're going to execute our strategy when it comes to process automation. We gather requirements from a number of areas. One is through customer discussions. One is through these kind of webinars. And the other avenue is through ideation. So we will look at all these avenues to basically figure out what exactly are your requirements and what exactly are your pain points, and that is how we will be executing our strategy in terms of new features or any other things that we would like to incorporate into the roadmap. As you guys are aware of, we follow the agile methodology, and we take up the sprint process. So we will take up each of the requirements, and our sprint cycle lasts between 3 to 4 weeks. And at the end of every sprint cycle going forward, we'll be conducting a live demo like this to basically demonstrate the features that the team has worked on, and we will be taking your feedback. So this is something that we'll be following from today onwards. And the features that the team has worked on for the past few months, we were unable to show them, and we wanted to utilize this opportunity to showcase what the team has worked on. So again, we have the entire development team on the call. We have our architects. We have our subject matter experts. We have our pre-sales guys. So it is the right opportunity if you have any question that you would like to bring onto the table. So please let us know if you have any questions, either through the Q&A or if you can unmute your phone lines. That would be good as well. Okay. So any more questions? I'm pretty sure we are getting to the top of the hour. I'll just have this discussion open for another couple of minutes. If you can type in or if you can speak out, that would be really good. Yeah, we have something like this validation program where you can basically register to test the pre-release stuff. So if you are interested in downloading or testing it in your environment, please sign up in the validation.ca.com website. And you can go to the process automation website and you can register yourself, and that way we can basically get in touch with you guys for any new features or any new releases that we are trying to do, and you'll always be involved in all those discussions and email notifications. Yep. So anyways, thank you very much for your time, guys. It is really valuable, and we really appreciate your time. And again, as I stated, we really wanted to develop products that are of value to you. So in the due course of days, in the next few days, I'll be reaching out to each of you customers on a personal basis, and we'll have a one-on-one session kind of thing where I will go through your experiences and pain points, and that way I'll be in touch with you, and you can share your thoughts and the way you want the product to be driven. Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate your time. Yeah, Chris, you can disconnect the call for now.
Thank you very much, guys, and the recording will be posted on the community shortly.
Thank you.
The leader has disconnected. The conference will be terminated in 5 minutes.